edition of Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I'm Dustin, and today my guest is Madeline Boughton, who is from Traveling Mad. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So Madeline, when I saw your Traveling Mad YouTube videos, I had to have you on. First of all, can you explain what Traveling Mad is?
Oh, sure. Traveling Mad is the name that I came up for myself because I really like to travel. So Mad kind of has a couple of meanings, short for Madeline, and then also mad, you're traveling, you're doing something kind of like frequently and often. So I call myself Traveling Mad because I really like to travel.
Oh, that's awesome. And so can you take us back a little bit and explain why you started traveling, why it is your passion, and just in general, what are some of the things that you like? Where do you go when you travel?
Okay. The first trip I can remember is when we went to Florida to visit a relative. I was about 6 years old, and we moved there. And since then, my family and I moved back and forth between New Jersey and Florida. And I took my first international trip when I was 13 years old. I've had my passport since then.
Wow.
So I just really love to be on the move. And when my family says, hey, we're going over here, then I'm ready to go. So that really inspires me to travel. And then once I got to college studying abroad, I knew that I was going to do it right away because I knew that was a really easy way for me to travel to a couple of other countries.
That's true. So you started traveling when you were 13. Where did you go? When you started traveling abroad when you were 13, where did you go?
Yes, I went to Germany. My father was in the military. He was stationed there, so I lived in Germany for my freshman year of high school.
Wow. How was that experience?
Oh, it was great. It was a little bit true, the military brats, so we were a little bit spoiled. We had everything at our disposal, and everything's kind of right there once you're in Europe. So we did do a lot of traveling, and it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it.
So at 13, like when you moved to Germany, was that sort of the time when you said, wow, I really like this traveling thing, or did it take a little bit longer, or what really made it happen?
I think once I lived in Germany, I realized I really like this. And when you're in Europe, you can just travel to all these other countries right there. So I want to do more of this. But once I left Germany and went back to New Jersey, I did less traveling, and I didn't travel internationally again until I studied abroad in college.
Okay, so where did you study abroad in college?
I attended Fairleigh Dickinson University, and they have a campus in England. It's called Roxton College. So I went there for 1 semester.
Okay, so now that you are a freshman in college, you had a taste of it when you were 13. Now you're a freshman in college. You are actually living abroad again. And I'm assuming that this time you have made an effort, conscious decision that you're going to start traveling abroad. So.
Yes, absolutely. I knew going into Fairleigh Dickinson, they had another campus at the time in Israel, which has since closed. But I knew that when I got to Fairleigh, I would definitely be studying abroad. And I wound up going to the campus in England, and I loved it. And they took us on trips to other countries while we were there. So we also went to Scotland and Wales, and they also took us to Belgium. So I loved it, and I said, I definitely want to go back. And I've been back to England a few times since then.
Okay, and now that you've had the experience traveling, once you started in England traveling, how many countries have you been to at this point? About how many?
So far, I've been to 21 countries.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. And are you there visiting? Are you there working? Are you there living? Or is it a combination?
I've done all three of those things, but in different times and in different areas. It was mostly for vacation at first.
Okay.
I just decided I work hard, I want to take some time off, so I went on a couple of vacations to some islands, mostly in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And while I was in graduate school in France, we took a class in India, so we were there for a month doing actually like a class project.
Oh, okay.
So certain countries I've been to for work or for school, and also just for vacation, just because I wanted to check out a new place.
Okay, and so how do you decide? So I want to get back to the Traveling Mad, because you have a YouTube channel, you have a website, you tweet, and you also have a Facebook page.
Yes.
So people can follow you on all of your different vacations and traveling expeditions anytime they want to, because you are on all of those forms of social media. So how do you decide where do you want to go?
That's hard because some people say, oh, you've been to so many places, but I feel like I've been to so few places, and my travel to-do list is really long. So any place I've never been before, I want to go. But I have created like a top 5 American list because there are cities in America that I really want to visit, and then like a top 5 international list as well. So it's just a combination of what type of things I want to see, if there's a specific culture, and then also some of the wonders of the world. People say you have to see, before you die, kind of go see this thing. So some of that factors in, but mostly just, oh, this is a new place I've never been, an area I've never been to, I want to go check it out.
That's pretty cool. So tell me, I'd like to know your top 5 for places you want to go in the U.S.
Okay, top 5 in the U.S. is Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, Helena, Montana. There's a city in Oklahoma that I haven't been to. I want to go. I'm not sure the name of it, but I looked it up and I said, I want to go to Oklahoma. And my top place is Alaska. I really want to go mushing in Alaska. That is my number 1 place I'm going to go to.
That would be pretty cool. Now, how about in abroad? Where are the top 5 places you would like to go?
I want to go to Prague. Tokyo, Japan is probably the number 1.
Okay.
There's so many places. It's so hard to choose. I want to go to Greece and South Africa and Ghana.
Okay. Those are all, I've been to some of those places, and I can vouch that they are awesome places to visit. So it sounds like you choose places that you want to go based on whether or not you've been there before, if you've heard interesting things, as in the case of the city that you can't remember in Montana. So you've been doing this for quite a while now. I mean, you're very young still, but you've been doing this. So there are people who are way older who decide, I'm going to wait and take my vacations or take a vacation once I retire, once some milestone. What would you say to people like that?
Well, I would say definitely go for it. It's never too late or too early to travel. So think about the places where you want to go and make them happen. Just do a little bit of research on how's the best way to get there and what you can do once you get there. And it's absolutely doable.
And for the people who say, well, it's too expensive, you have to have thousands and thousands of dollars, did you find that to be the case? Do you find it to be true? What have you done as far as manage your financial expectations when traveling?
It really depends on your preferences. If you want to have an experience that of a tourist and see all the touristy sites, it may get a bit costly, but if you're flexible and open-minded, you could stay at hostels or other smaller bed and breakfasts, or even couch surfing is actually an affordable way. So especially younger people or people who are young at heart, they're happy to find an alternative way of staying in a place, and that really cuts down the cost because hotels can be quite expensive. Especially as Americans, we look for the American named hotel wherever we go,
right.
and those are usually the most expensive. But if
right.
you stay where the locals stay, then you'll find a more affordable place.
So you mentioned couch surfing. That's relatively new, like maybe within the last 5 years or so. Have you couch surfed at all? Can you explain what it is for people who don't know what couch surfing is?
Sure. Couch surfing is when you basically sleep on someone's couch or a futon or something like that in another place. It can be in another country or it can be in another city here in the U.S. So as opposed to paying a hotel fee and price, you stay with someone or a family, a couple, or even a single person, and you pay that person a much smaller fee. But it's a really good way for you to get a different experience because you're staying with a local. So you can ask them all the questions about where do the locals go and kind of go off the beaten path instead of just looking at the tourist guide. They'll be able to guide you on what everyone else does.
And how would I find someone to go couch surf, like whose home I would couch surf?
Oh, you just look online and they have reviews. So people who have stayed at a certain place, they'll say, yes, I like this about this apartment, or no, I didn't like that. So you go based on the reviews.
So it's nice feedback because you don't go in there blind thinking like, okay, I don't know if this is going to be a good situation, like maybe too small or no privacy. You actually have feedback. So that's great. So people can look that up online. You also mentioned hostels. So for people who don't know what those are, what is a hostel?
A hostel, in my mind, it's kind of between a hotel and a dorm room. Some
Very
hostels, Some hostels you can pay extra and have a room to yourself and a bathroom to yourself. That's a little more pricey. I have seen rooms, in quotations, up to 16 people with bunk beds all over the place, and you're all sharing 1 or 2 bathrooms, like 1 or 2 toilets and 1 or 2 showers.
Wow.
So the hostel thing can go a pretty big range, and I've also seen family-friendly hostels where you can also bring children. So hostels are definitely the way to go. They usually come with breakfast, and it's really a community setting, so a bunch of people from different places all get together so you can kind of share ideas and experience. Where are you going tomorrow? Where are you from? So it's a nice way also to meet people while you're out, because it's harder to meet people when you're looking at your map and you only ask for direction. You're not really able to engage the people that live there.
Okay, those are great suggestions. And I know you also mentioned the bed and breakfast, which is basically like a little small room. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned that if you are not like maybe in a situation like a hostel where you have other people around you, you may just be engaging people instantly, like saying, okay, how do I get to the Eiffel Tower or something like that. Do you travel alone? Do you travel solo on any of your trips?
Yes, I have traveled alone before, not internationally. I've never gone from one country to another alone unless I was going to meet a friend.
Oh, okay.
While I was living in France, I had friends that lived in Germany, so I frequently went to their place because it was only a short train ride away. But I've never gone from America to another country alone and traveled alone. I usually meet friends in various places because I have friends now all over the places I've visited, so I just go meet
That's
up with
awesome.
them.
So you made a lot of these friends while you were traveling, like prior times, or are these people that you from school, or a combination, or
it's a combination. Mostly it's people from school. We wind up either traveling together, or one of us has a friend who lives in that country, and we'll say, oh, let's go, my friend said we can stay at their place, so we go in that way. And then we also just meet people along the way. Sometimes we meet people in hostels and they say, well, I live in Greece, so next time you're in Greece, come look me up. And I actually take people up on that. Not yet to Greece, but I have taken people up on that. They say, oh, come visit me in this country, and I take them up.
Well, that's good to know. That's very good, because I always hear about people who say, hey, come and visit me, and then the next thing you know, they're like, who are you? Or,
oh, no.
Well, I'm just saying in general that may happen. We're just about to wrap up this segment, and we're going to come back, and you're going to tell us a little bit more about the specific places that you visited. I know you visited a ton of countries, so we can talk about that. But right now, we're going to go away for a quick second, and we will be right back.
Local government, local educational institutions, and local community members all use cable access TV to communicate their message. They depend upon it as an affordable means of outreach. Public educational and government access television empowers local government agencies, individuals, and groups to use the media to speak directly to their constituents in a more direct and cost-effective way. Make sure everyone has a voice. Support your local PEG channels.
Welcome back to this edition of Dustin's Kaleidoscope. We are here today with Madeline Boughton. And Madeline, thank you again for being here. We're going to pick up where we left off, and we are going to talk a little bit more specifically about where you have traveled. So can you tell us about one of the places you have traveled? Like, I think you mentioned that you traveled in Paris and also in England as well as in Germany. So would you like to pick one of those places to tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Sure. I spent the most time in Paris, France, and it was a really great experience. There are some things that I miss every day about Paris, and one of the things that people think it's not true, or it's just kind of like a myth or a stereotype, is the fresh bread and everyone walking around with a baguette under their arms. It's really true. And I miss my fresh baguette every morning. I really do. So there are some things I really, really miss about Paris, and it's a really, really beautiful city. Just the architecture, seeing it every day, it's amazing. So I really enjoyed the time there, getting some art and culture.
Were you working there, or were you going to school there, or what, or vacationing?
The first time I went, actually, is I met a French lady here in America, and she said, if you ever come to France, come look me up. And I said, I'm not going to France. But then I said, I'm going to take her up on that. And I went to visit, and I fell in love with it.
Wow.
I said, I have to move here. So about 6-7 months later, I moved there. And I attended graduate school, so I was there getting my master's degree.
Oh, that's awesome. So one of the things that most people think of when they consider traveling abroad is, do I have to know the language? How much of the language do I know? How much of the language should I know in order to be polite? I mean, what, in your experience, did you already know French? Do you know French? What did you find when you went to France?
I actually didn't know a word of French before I got there, before I moved there. So the program that I attended, all the classes were in English, which was a blessing because I would not be able to complete a master's degree without speaking French fluently. So it depends on where you want to go, but most places, English is the unifying language. So many people will speak English for tourists specifically.
Okay.
So I do recommend everyone to learn the language if they're going to spend a significant amount of time in a country. So I still don't say that I speak French fluently, but I speak enough to get by, and I was learning as I was living there, but all my classes were in English. So I also tell people that if they do want to study abroad and take classes in another country, find an English-speaking program because they exist all over the world.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is awesome. So another place you mentioned, actually when we were off camera, is that you actually traveled to India as well. So was this through your school?
Yes.
Okay.
I took a class while I was in Paris, and the class was about sustainability and sustainable development. So we went to India to find out what the organizations were doing to live more sustainably. And we worked with different organizations on their communications team, helping them with their strategy, trying to reach their community and get them more involved. So I was there for about a month. And that was a really great experience. I had never been to that part of the world, and my favorite parts about India were food, because I'm a really big foodie. The food was delicious. It was so fresh every day. I loved it. And the clothing and the culture, I really like Indian culture.
Wow, that's awesome. So, you know, Madeline, it sounds like a lot of your experience, or at least some of it, comes through your education, like through graduate school or undergrad. For people who are not in school right now or who are done with school, what are some of the tips that you would recommend for them as far as getting started in traveling? So in general, just like people who are reluctant to travel.
Okay. The first thing I would say is to do a little homework, do a little research, and look up a place that you might be interested in going because it actually might be doable.
Okay.
And the next tip I would give is to be flexible, be open-minded, and think about a new place that you may have never gone to and no one you know has ever gone to that place. And that might be a fun and interesting place that you might enjoy. Think about something different as opposed to the traditional tourist spots. Also, avoid tourist hotels. As I mentioned before, staying at an alternative place, I think you would have a much better experience overall, and you would definitely save some money. That's the next tip, is put a little bit of money aside. People often feel like money is the number one factor as why they can't travel. But when you look at some things that you spend extra money on in your day-to-day life, maybe getting one less latte or one less purse when you go shopping, those things start to add up over time.
Yeah.
So if you're serious about having an annual vacation, once you just put a little away, it's doable. And last but not least, travel is for everyone. It's for everyone, young and old, even those that have families. There are so many groups and blogs for people that travel with children, so they can give you the best tips and ideas on where to stay, what's really child-friendly and what's not. So it's for everyone, so you just have to do a little looking.
I really liked your tip on, forgoing the purse, the extra purse and the latte every morning, because that does add up. And as you were saying earlier, and I can also speak to this, it's not as expensive as you think it is when you travel, especially when you have a plan in mind. So that's a great tip. And also, I love the part about traveling is for everyone, because there are some people who just completely are against traveling because of whatever reason,
right,
and they think it's just not for them. Where you're a living testament to how travel can it really helps you understand other cultures and things like that. So what are some of the so I know you like the food in India. Are there any I hate to say it, but any tourist things that you saw there that you liked, or were you basically working the whole time? You didn't get a chance to do that.
I was really working a lot. I unfortunately didn't even get a chance to go to the Taj Mahal.
Really?
So when I go back to India, right at the top of my list is to go to the Taj Mahal and to ride an elephant. Those are two things I really want to do when I get back to India.
Okay.
But I didn't have a chance to do all of the touristy things because we went for a specific purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about, and so that, you mentioned that one of the tips that you had was not to do all of the touristy things. So how did you find out what to do? Was it because of the people you stayed with, or how did
India?
Just in general, just in any of the places that you visited, how did you determine where you wanted to go if you wanted to sidetrack the more touristy places?
Okay. I really asked around. People, locals especially, are really open to talk to you if you're asking them something about what they do or their culture versus, like you said earlier, how do I get to the Eiffel Tower? You know, that's the number one question. And French people, they may get very annoyed by that because they're asked it 1,000 times a day. But if you ask them something different or what they do for fun or for leisure in the same city, you'll get a different response. And I think people are really open to sharing if you want to learn something more about them.
Okay. So now that you've traveled to 20 plus countries, what can you say about yourself has changed?
Oh, wow. I have the travel bug, I guess, and there's no way I'll ever stop traveling. So I'm really interested in learning about other people. So I've always been interested in that, and I was a psychology major. I ask a lot of questions, well, why is this and why is that? And so I'm interested in similar things just within other cultures. What is it that they do for fun? What do they like to eat? How is it that they dress? So I'm really just curious about other places, and I love to see the sites. It's different when you see sites with your own eyes.
Yes.
Pictures and video, and now that we have the digital age, it's wonderful, but there's nothing like seeing some of those sites with your own eyes and having that experience and the smells and tasting the food. So I really enjoy experiencing something new for myself.
So that's great. So this is, everyone, this is great because this is the same thing that you can do as well. And so
Yes.
now that you've done that, what, other than the top 5 places in the U.S. and the top 5 places in, abroad, is there what other than just visiting those places do you want to get out of, when you go and travel?
Well, each place that I talked about, I specifically want to go there to do something.
Okay.
Because I've seen on TV or friends have told me, well, when you go to this city, you have to do this. So I actually want to do some of that. And it doesn't always come from just their website or from the tourist blogs. It's from actual people who have been and said, wow, I went to this one cafe on so-and-so street and get this type of tea. And I actually want to go and try it and experience it. And some other things, just beautiful places that I've seen only by photo and only online. And I'm like, I know if I see that in person, it will just be awe-inspiring. So I really want to go to those places to do certain tasks and activities.
Oh, that's great.
Like the mushing in Alaska. I can't
That's
wait
very
to do it.
specific. That's very specific.
Yes.
So do you have another trip planned right now?
Well, I don't have one planned out completely, but I do plan to go to Portugal.
Oh, okay.
Within the next 6 months or so.
And so what is it there? Since you said you have a specific thing that you want to do in each
In my
place.
top 5. But there are other places I just
see.
want to go just because. And Portugal is one of those places I just want to go just because.
Okay.
And also, I'm a Newark, New Jersey native, and there is excellent Portuguese food in the Ironbound
That's
section of
true.
Newark.
Yeah.
So I know it must be even better in Portugal. So I'm really excited about trying the food also once I get to Portugal. But I just want to go just because.
That is awesome. And that's one thing that we probably did not mention in the very beginning, that you are from Newark. Did you have a lot of family members, other than your dad who was in the military in Germany? Did you have other family members who were like, go out and travel? And what does your family think about you traveling?
Oh, they love it. My
awesome.
family has actually come to visit me abroad. When I was living in England, I made my mom come. She got her first passport. I said, I'm living in England. I want to show you Big Ben. You have to come. So she came. And then a few years later, I'm living in France. And I said, I want to show you the Eiffel Tower. You have to come. And so then the whole family came over to France. So they love that I travel. But none of them really travel. I'm the one who pushes them to travel. My whole family's from America. And so no one goes abroad very often. But if I tell them, oh, you have to come with me to this place, they'll come.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And that's really cool that your mom came and traveled. Did she travel by herself?
She did. When she came to England, it was just her. She got on the plane by herself and came to visit me. But when I was living in France, my family came over for my graduation. So it was my parents, my aunt, and 2 cousins. So I had a whole family reunion in Paris.
And did you take them, while you were there, did you take them to, the Eiffel Tower? Or?
Yes, because that's the difference. They only had a few days. So I was like, if you're only here for a few days, I know you're not coming back anytime soon. I have to take you to this, and this. So we
Right.
did hit the main tourist attractions in France.
So that's great then. So we only have like a minute left, and I wanted to get your take on anything, other advice that you could give people who, young, old, whatever financial situation they're in. What do you enjoy? I have two things. One, what do you enjoy most about traveling? And two, what would be your number one piece of advice other than the 5 tips?
Okay. What I enjoy most about traveling is just having that experience. Whether you like it or dislike it, at least you can say that you've done it. So someone may ask you, how did you like this place, or what did you do in that place? I can give them an actual experience from a real person. And people find more value in that as opposed to just reading online, because they don't have a connection with those people.
True.
And sometimes people are trying to solicit their own business. So they're telling you, yes, come stay at my hotel. But when you have a friend who's been to a place, I think people find that more valuable. And my main tips just for people that want to get started are to just ask the questions, look around, and be confident. It is possible, and I am proof that it's doable. So you can do it. You just have to know where to look and keep asking questions.
Madeline, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure
Thank
talking
you so
to
much
you.
for having me.
And I would really like for you to come back after you've gone to Portugal so you can tell us about
I
what
would
you
love
found.
to. I would love to. I can't wait.
All right, well, this is this edition of Dustin's Kaleidoscope. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.